Okay, this is part 33 of Rebel. I still have a shirt on. Please like and subscribe before we start this. Okay, Eden. My thoughts are a jumbled mess when we land. Through the plane window, I can see the skyscrapers of Ross City piercing the view below us as we hover over the landing pad on the top floor of one complex. Looking at the cityscape sends chills along my spine. Plumes of smoke billow from the undercity all the way up to the sky, cutting the air into light and dark streaks. The enormous virtual markers that usually hover over the city, names of buildings and cumulative scores of its residents, the lights that would wash the buildings in bright colors, that's all turned off. What's replaced it are troops lined up in battalions on several of the higher floors monitoring the elevators. I remember scenes like this from the Republic, from the days when we couldn't be sure if the nation would still be standing at the end of its war. But to see Ross City, Antarctica, without its blanket of technology, is to see a superpower suddenly vulnerable and exposed. I lean back in my seat and close my eyes for a second as we start to land. Han's face swims in the darkness, grave and deadly. Hey. I open my eyes to see Pressa beside me. Her hand is warm against my upper arm. You're not going to be alone down there, she reminds me. Alone. This would be overwhelming. With Pressa here, though, maybe we can do this. Still, as I watch her dig in my backpack to double-check the supplies she'd brought with her, I feel a pang of fear. This is no longer a game I'm playing with my own life. Daniel leans closer to us both, and when he fixes his eyes on me, he doesn't mention how pale I look. Instead, he holds out a small, flat phone and a tiny insect-like drone. The phone's for you to contact Han, he says in a low voice that only he and I can hear. He'll probably confiscate it from you as soon as we're in, so there's nothing else on it. He nods at the drone. And once you're in, we're going to be communicating via any type of signal. We're not going to be communicating via any type of signal. I study the drone he hands me. On it is a nail-sized chip. It's the patch that I'm going to install on the level system when I try to bring it back online. A patch that will alter the system to something different from what it originally was. A revolution within a revolution. So hold out your wrist, Daniel tells me now. I do. He takes a wet cloth, swabs my wrist with it, and then wipes it on the drone. It instantly lights up with a faint green mark, then fades back into its black color. This will track you down and deliver any message we need to send to you. Use it to send a message back. It'll only deliver one round before it self-destructs. Anyone who isn't you or me and tries to tamper with it will get a nasty surprise when it simulates a bug bite and then erases its drive. Got it? Already, my attention has shifted to how the insect drone functions. It's solar-powered. I can tell from the sheen of its shell, and its metal body looks so much like a real cockroach body that I want to recoil from the way it flicks its antennae. Got it, I repeat. I won't be able to transmit back to you, not until I figure out what our options are if we get to Han. When you do, Daniel corrects me firmly. Uncertainty flashes in his eyes, but he just looks away and leans back. AIS agents are waiting for us when we step off the plane. Their uniform black suits blend into one as they line up at the base of the steps, giving respectful nods to June. They greet Daniel too, albeit warily. There are several soldiers here too, in their gray and green uniforms. I fall into step behind me as we make our way down the elevator. Through the glass windows, we get a better view of the chaos that has engulfed the city. Things have calmed a bit, one of the agents tells us as we go. Martial law is firmly in place. Curfews are set for 9 at night. And the Undercity? Daniel asks. His skeptical tone makes the agent turn slightly red. It's under control, he says as if to defend himself. We've rounded up and jailed a lot of the protesters. I frown, mirroring my brother's expression. That's not going to keep people in check, he says. The last we saw, the entire Undercity was an open rebellion. You're telling me you locked up everyone? The man reddens again. We're containing it, he insists again. It's all I need to hear to know that things down here aren't really in control. Even a city like this place is going to have trouble quelling a lifetime of abuse against an entire population. The president has given explicit orders about you all. He goes on, impatient to shift the subject. He eyes me. You're the brother? I'm the brother, I reply, used to the question, but beside me, Daniel narrows his eyes. His name's Eden. I'm the brother. I glance at Daniel, surprised, but he's not looking at me. Instead, his attention has shifted to the floors appearing one by one below us as our elevator gradually slows. The closer we get to the Undercity, the more of the chaos we can see. There are heavy barricades set up at intersections everywhere, and many of the lower floors are barred from entry, guards present in front of every elevator entrance. Finally, we reach the floor where our escorts will get off to join the rest of the Antarctican troops. This is where Daniel and June will leave too, where Pressa and I will go on alone. June and I exchange a steady look, one born from a lifetime of surviving together. Then she turns to squeeze my shoulder. "See you soon," she says. "We'll be right here, listening for you." I nod, trying to mimic her calmness. When she was young, when she was going through the worst of the Republic's war, did she ever feel terrified? It seems impossible, looking into her level eyes. While June gives Press an encouraging nod, Daniel and I hesitate before each other. As a kid, I used to throw myself into his arms without thinking twice. I'd grab for his hand whenever I had the chance. I'd wrap my arms around his neck and babble affections until he'd shove me off. But now, we don't quite know how to say goodbye. We stand there for a moment, feet shuffling, expressions awkward. In the end, we don't. He just pats my arm before giving me his crooked smile. "Don't be late," he tells me. I nod, searching for something to say, but Daniel has already turned back around and is walking out of the elevator. At first, I think it's because he didn't want to linger any longer. Then I realize that it's because he can't bear to see me go. Too soon, Pressa and I are alone in the elevator. We head down to the Undercity. Through the glass, I can hear the sirens coming from below, the shouts of an officer through a megaphone. It's too much like the Republic. The sounds surround me like a blanket, and I suddenly wonder if I'm in one of my nightmares, that maybe all of this has been my subconscious trapping me. My palms break out in a sweat. I look to my side. Pressa is pale too, her shoulders trembling slightly. Her presence gives me the strength I need. I reach out to touch her arm, then give her a small smile. "I'm glad you're here," I say. She startles out of whatever thoughts she had. She turns to me with a smile of her own, relieved, and presses herself closer to me as we reach the last floor and step out into the chaos of the Undercity. The path towards Pressa's shop is completely shut off. We wander past police barricades and troops lining the streets, of wary Undercity civilians eyeing the soldiers or grouped behind barriers, shouting angrily. Pressa tightens her grip on my wrist. "This way," she whispers, nodding us down a narrow alley away from the main streets. We walk our way along until we've gone past where most of the soldiers have set up. Here the streets are more shadowed by skyscraper shadows, the roads more cracked and broken. I finally stop near where Pressa and I used to make our way down to the Undercity. The streets are quieter here, eerily so. We're in uncertain territory now. I stop in the middle of the path and place a call on my phone to Han with the number he'd given me. For a moment, I think no one will answer. Maybe he changed it by now, or never meant for me to use it at all. Then a voice comes on. It's not Han, of course, but one of his associates. Her words fill up my ears. "Step out of the shadows so we can have a better look at you," she says. "The boss would like to know why you're back in this neighborhood." Every hair on my neck stands on end. They're already watching us. I look at Pressa, then motion for us to step into the light. "Who's the girl beside you?" "A friend," I answer. As if in response, Pressa reaches into her pack and holds out a box of vials. Han will remember her from the drone races. She's here to give him something for his condition. I guess the associate wasn't prepared to hear that. She pauses for a long time. When she finally does speak again, she's still addressing me. "And what do you want?" "I'm here to help him," I reply, "if he'll still have me. Tell him he was right about everything. I hope he can't hear the lie in my words. And I'm here to warn him. The AIS is planning an attack on his system soon." The phone goes silent. I wait a few seconds longer. "Hello?" I ask, but she's gone already. Pressa stares sidelong at me. "Do you think that she'll relay this to Han?" she whispers. My lips tighten. We'll know soon enough. We stay where we are for what feels like an eternity. My eyes turn up. The skyscrapers overhead disappear into the air, and if I look for too long, the sheer endlessness makes me dizzy. What if Han has people watching and waiting everywhere up there, their eyes turning toward us in case this deal goes wrong? I glance around us. We are as vulnerable as we can be now. If he wanted to, he could shoot us down right here, and for a moment I think that's exactly what he'll do. A new call comes on. I answer it. My hand trembles against my ear. Even before he speaks, I know it's him. His presence hangs in the air. Your brother is already calling me. Your brother is already calling for me to meet with him," he says. "Does he know you're down here?" So Daniel and June have already made their move. I tilt my head up, listening for their voices being broadcast. It's faint, coming from the heart of the city where the advertisements jumble the closest of the skyscrapers. No, I reply. I can't tell if he believes me or not. And why is that? A change of heart? He asks, a touch of amusement in his voice. I will never be able to fool him. This will all go terribly wrong. But I still take a deep breath and answer. I just want to meet again, I say. He's silent for a moment. My eyes lock on a silhouette that appears at the entrance of the shuttered bar ahead of us. It's one of his men. I recognize him as one of the people who had held me hostage in the Undercity. Beside me, Precious stiffens. He approaches us. His eyes are expressionless. Come with me, he says.